An American reconnaissance team had encountered a Soviet patrol purely by chance. It wasn't exactly a suitable location for such a symbolic event. The spectacle, which took place in Torgau on April the 27th, was named East Meets West. Allied representatives from Britain and France had also been invited.
For George Stevens and his team, every scene was important. They succeeded in capturing the casual atmosphere that prevailed. Soviet camera teams and photographers were also present for the momentous occasion. The Russians took a great interest in the equipment the Americans had with them. Harold Denny reported for the New York Times,
The Western Front and the Eastern Front are finally united, and Germany is cut in two. On the American side, the honor of sealing the Union fell to General Courtney H. Hodges of the First Army, the force that attacked the shores of Normandy last June and advanced 700 miles through France, Belgium and Germany to this point. Representing the Russian side was Marshal Ivan S. Konev of the 1st Ukrainian Army, which fought its way clear for 1,400 miles against the fiercest resistance history has ever seen.
the spectacle in Torgau was an event for the entire world. The link-up meant more to the Americans than the Soviets. Moscow chose to see itself as the sole victor over Nazi fascism. The joining of the two sides was of particular significance for the Western world because it symbolized the end of the war. Just 2 weeks before, US President Franklin D. Roosevelt had died suddenly. For the Nazi leadership in Berlin, this offered a glimmer of hope that America's alliance with Stalin might fracture. But Torgau showed exactly the opposite. On this day, America's new president, Harry S. Truman, ceremoniously announced,
The union of our arms in the heart of Germany has a meaning for the world which the world will not miss. It means, first, that the last faint, desperate hope of Hitler and his gangster government has been extinguished.
In his speech, Truman expressed a wish which, even at this point in time, was unrealistic.
Second, the junction of our forces at this moment signalizes to ourselves and to the world that the collaboration of our nations in the cause of peace and freedom is an effective collaboration which can surmount the greatest difficulties of the most extensive campaign in military history and succeed.
In his article for the New York Times, Harold Denny agreed with the president.
The spirit in which the Americans and Russian troops and their respective commanders met was worthy of the great occasion. The Russians received us with generous hospitality, and our men responded accordingly. From the moment an outpost of the Russians picked up the first American patrol, there was an almost continuous celebration. The Russians arranged banquets with food and vodka, and the Americans brought cognac and champagne, drinks they had liberated from German army depots. And then there was toasting and singing, an expression of hope for a future in which Americans, Russians, and British would stand together for a lasting peace.
The alliance against Hitler was close to its objective, but shortly after victory was achieved, it would crumble. On April the 27th, 1945, 3 days before the German dictator committed suicide, and 11 days before Germany's unconditional surrender, the post-war era in international politics began.